Hello everybody, welcome to this tutorial video. Going to go over how to set up a character, just a quick crash course on it in Fantasy Grounds. First things to note, Fantasy Grounds can be a little slow. They are updating it to Unity, but that's not quite here just yet. But either way, it's a very it the program does a lot that makes it so much easier to use than well anything else I've used. So to begin with, when you first log into your DM's server on Fantasy Grounds, you will see this window popped up. This is, as it says, the character selection window. I already have my character made for this particular adventure. They're starting us off at level 3. When you do log in, as I said, it's a little slow. So when you do log in, if you see there's nothing in here, don't panic. It'll take a moment to load. If you see, as you can see right now, Fantasy Grounds is in the quote-unquote full screen setting. If it goes even bigger and covers up your taskbar, it means that it's processing things. Just stop clicking and let it process. Alright, moving on. To create a character, first off, this menu is available over here in the PCs button. But to create a character, you'll hit this plus sign right here. That menu goes away. Why is there a... Anyways. So that menu goes away. If you do need it again, it's here in the PCs. Fantasy Grounds isn't quite the most straightforward on this. But what you'll do is you'll come up here to this new unnamed character. Click the box. Click the portrait thing. And it'll bring it up. For some reason, this automatically assigned a portrait. I don't know why. Normally, it will look like Elysian's here. So, anyways, here we are in your character sheet. These portraits and tokens over here, do not touch them. Fantasy Grounds has some finickiness about a couple of things. Let your DM assign those. So what you'll want to do is you'll put in your name here. We'll name this guy Tutorial. And so the next thing you want to do is assign your ability scores. Whatever your DM's wanting you to do, whether it's the point buy or roll, you just assign your ability scores. Point buy, I don't need to show you how to do that, but for rolling, first off, you can change your dice color up here with this color palette button. You just add whatever color you want. The bigger it is, the more it adds of that specific color. This button changes the numbers on the dice between black and white. Straightforward. To roll, you just need to right click on the D6 and select 4. Now you always need to roll your dice in the chat box for them to count. Well, that's a really good roll. But anyways, so like with this, that would be a score of 16 if we were using dice roll. Now if you do roll elsewhere, you can throw your dice around all you want, by the way. Mostly. There you go. If your dice do get all messed up like this, you can right click on an empty space here. It'll give you options to restore the window down to this and maximize it again. You can exit the program, and there's the arrange dice button, which will put them all right back here. If you want to make your own arrangement, you just click, you just move them wherever you want them, get them nice and good, and then you'll hit the set arranged position. I don't want that, so boom. So, after you've assigned your ability scores, I'll just throw, we'll put at 12 there. Now, as you probably noticed, a lot of things are automatically updated based on these ability scores and other factors on your character sheet. We'll do a 14, 12, give them an 18 in charisma, or wisdom, and an 8 in charisma. There. Some basic stats to go with. So the next thing you're going to want to do, if you'll want to come down here to the library. I've already got these activated, but normally your library will be empty. Like so. To actually put stuff in here, you'll click this modules button. People are rolling. What is he doing? I don't know. I don't care. They need to... Anyways, so you'll click this modules button, and this data module activation menu will come up. These are the books that your DM gives you access to. They've got more books, but they're probably not going to share things like the DM's guide with you. Now, right now, my Fantasy Grounds is frozen a bit. This is what I was talking about earlier with the taskbar, by the way. Some things, like opening up these books, usually you're downloading these from either Fantasy Grounds servers or your DM server. I honestly don't know where it's coming from. But either way, it does take a little moment to load. So, if it does freeze, just wait. As you can see, the PHP Deluxe is now in there. These probably will come right away because they are small. But sometimes you'll open these and they won't be in here right away. Just wait. Be patient. So now that we've got these in here, the next thing you'll want to do is assign your race. If you were using a race from the books, you'll click on the book it's from, and then you'll click on the races button. We'll go ahead and go with the PHP. So then you'll click the races and another window will come up, and that's where all of the races are listed. There is a search bar if you do need to make use of it on almost all windows. But then from here, if you're a dwarf, you'd simply click and drag this little dragon head next to the dwarf entry and drop it onto your character sheet. Now, we're not going to do that because I'm going to also show you how to add a custom race. But that's how you just quickly add a race pre-built, and it's quick, easy, and it does pretty much everything for you. Now for a custom race, we will go ahead, you'll open up whatever other form you've got. In this case, I already have my custom races document for the furry races that I make use of in my campaigns, and at least one of these EGF Gaming games are making use of. So I've already gone ahead and searched down to the Kobold. Control F, of course, brings up that search menu for the document. And here he is. He's small size, 30 movement, plus 2 dex, plus 1 any. So we'll go ahead and add these first. So you go back to Fantasy Grounds. We can close that now because we don't need it. And by the way, to add ability scores, you simply click this box and then type in the new number. So like for dexterity here, I click the box, you see it's a little, you can faintly see it's highlighted there, and now it's going to be a 14. And we're going to go ahead and increase our intelligence to 13. Boom. Now you'll have to type in your race manually, so Kobold as so. And then coming back to this document, we've got a bunch of little traits here. Most of them I have descriptions on automatically. Pack Tactics, I've just never gotten around to adding a description for that. But either way. So, next thing here, first thing technically, was the movement. To update your movement, you come back here, click this little magnifying glass. This opens up information for how to modify your armor, your speed, and your initiative. Our base speed is 30, so you click the box and then type in the number. Now, with the Kobold, we also have natural armor. So, going back to here, you'll come over here to this miscellaneous field, because that's where the natural armor would go. Click that, and then just type 1, and boom. It automatically updates your armor to 13, which is your dex, because you get your full dex with no armor on, +1. So then you can just exit out of that, and all that's updated. This is your initiative, by the way, if you didn't notice. So next up, we've got Dark Vision, 60 feet. You can actually just go ahead and select it, copy, and coming over here, that would go into this Senses field. So, copy and paste, Dark Vision, 60 feet. All you need to do there. So back here, I'll show you how to add a trait. For our Kobold here, he's got Grovel, Cower, and Beg, Pack Tactics, Sunlight Sensitivity, and a couple of others. But coming here, so to add traits from your race, you'll go down here to the Abilities tab. Right now there's nothing, but you'll click this button down here with the Edit List button, and you'll see plus signs. Now, your racial things are all considered traits. It's even got a little DNA symbol for that. So you'll just hit a plus here, and then you'll type in the titles, or copy-paste, whichever you prefer. As you're going along, if you've got more than one, which you probably do, you'll hit enter, type in the next one, Pack Tactics, hit enter, and so forth and so on. As you can see, I've got an extra blank line here. I just come over here, click that once, and then confirm it to delete that. So now that I've put in all of those titles, you'll hit the Edit List button again, and now you'll see dragon heads. You can click this, and it'll bring up the an area for you to put in the details. So coming back to here, you can select that section, copy, and paste. And for good measure, you'll want to hit this lock to lock it and prevent accidentally editing it. So now that that's in there, you can actually click and drag this dragon head, not the character sheet, over into the chat box, and this will actually make it available to all players. So, and the DM, of course. So if the DM's like, what is that? You just stick it in there, they can click that, and it'll bring up the information. So, moving on. If your race gives you proficiency in a skill, The kobold does not have any of those. So you will find one that... Oh, here. Deer. They have proficiency with perception. Please put this information into the trait area on your character sheet, just so if you ever get questioned on why you have proficiency there you know. There you go. But to give yourself proficiency on something, you simply find the skill, so perception, and click the little star next to it. Boom. Now you are proficient in it, and it added your proficiency modifier over here. Now to make a roll real quick, while I am here on this screen, you'll see quite a few little... whenever you see a box that has a die in it, that means that it's something that can be rolled. Now you can either roll by double clicking on the box. So as you can see, that rolled the die, and that's a check for perception. Or you can click and drag over onto the chat box, drop it, and there's a check for performance. As you can see in the chat, it shows that I am proficient in perception, but I am not in performance. So after you finish all of your racial stuff, you'll come back... Oh, one more thing. Abilities, you'll want to add languages as well. Always make sure you do that. So hit that plus sign. Kobolds know Common and Draconic. And it always puts them into alphabetical order, as you can notice. So now coming back to the main tab, the next thing we want to do is select a class. So we're going to go ahead and pull this up, and let's say we're going to make him... We'll make him a barbarian. You'll click and drag this little dragon head onto your character sheet and drop it. It automatically did a whole lot of stuff, as you can see here in the chat. It added a level of barbarian here. It gave proficiency on strength and con saves, and so on and so forth. All of these little features are added to the Abilities tab. Proficiencies also show up in the Abilities tab here. So here's your proficiencies, your features. Going back to the main, well, it doesn't really matter for this. Sometimes there will be things to select, as you can see here. So we'll select 2 skills from the list below. We'll say Animal Handling and Nature. Now, if you do select more than what it says, it will not let you continue. Now you can, anytime you see this dragon head, it's a link to information. So this brings up information about nature. So once you select that, you hit OK, and it automatically marks those as proficient. So now that your class is done, and as you noticed, it automatically did your health. Now with most, some DMs prefer you roll, others don't. Fantasy Grounds will automatically add the default roll for your health. So at higher levels for a barbarian, it's 1d12 or 7, which is what Fantasy Grounds gives you. And it also automatically adds whatever your Constitution modifier is once you drop that class on here. To level up, you simply click, drag, and drop. Now, in the case of there are some some classes that have things like, For instance, the Paladin and the Fighter have a fighting style. You will need to manage that, so let me go ahead and add this to show you. Oh, okay, that's the first thing it added. Perfect. And as you can see, it's very easy to also multi-class with this. It automatically adds whatever you do get from multi-classing based on the rules in the player's handbook. Some classes, like the Rogue, if I drop that on here, you get an extra skill. So, boom. So now coming down here to the Abilities tab, as you can see, here's Fighting Style. You'll want to go ahead and click this Dragon Head, and you only get to choose one of these. So if you decide to go with Archery, to signify that this is what you chose, all you have to do is this. Click on at the end of the line, and I prefer to put a dash in there and then type in the name of whatever you choose. So that's how to go with that. As you can see, you've got quite a few proficiencies that have multiplied because, well, you've got a few different things. To get rid of those, you can just hit the edit list and delete the ones that are not important. So moving on to equipment. Since we started with the Barbarian, we'll go ahead and go with his equipment. So finding the Barbarian's class information, you bring this up here. Scroll down quite a ways. And here's the equipment section. You start with a great axe or any martial melee weapon, 2 hand axes or any simple weapon, an explorer's pack, and 4 javelins. So you've got links to the equipment lists here. If you need them otherwise, you just hit the PHB Deluxe in your library, hit equipment, and then there they are as well. So let's go to the weapon list for the Great Axe. Give him that. Just scroll down. Now right now, there is nothing on the Actions tab. But as soon as I drag and drop this Great Axe, it has been added. And when you add something that gives you access to other options for attacking with it, like if we had picked the hand axes for the next, we have 2 of those. Come back down to the actions, and then you see you've got melee, and then you've got thrown. Now, to attack something, we'll come back to that in more detail later. But basically, well, I'll explain now real quick. When you get into combat, you'll want to open up the combat tracker, which is up here in the upper right. It's the cross swords icon. Your DM will fill in most of this information. Well, let me see if I can drop. Nope, unfortunately I can't because this is a player's view. But basically you'll see a bunch of enemies in here. You'll see yourself, your allies. All of them are listed. Give me one moment and I'll go ahead and add an enemy. Let's see. Add an acolyte, make him visible, and add tutorial. There. Okay, so as you can see, those things were added to the combat tracker. Now when combat starts, you will... This is just a quick tutorial, by the way, guys. You'll come back here to the main, and you can just either double click or click and drag, and that will automatically update your initiative here. Now, if you take damage, Fantasy Grounds treats this as how many wounds you have compared to your max HP. So if this Acolyte were to hit you for, say, 5 damage, it will automatically be added, but you'll see that 5 damage there. That means that is green because that's how much damage you have taken, and that's only a fraction of 38 health. Now, to go ahead and actually attack something, you can come here to your Actions tab, and then click this one here is your attack option, and then this is your damage. So we'll click and drag this onto the Acolyte here in the combat tracker, and this rolls it. Most DMs will not allow you to see this result. You'll see your attack was a score of 8, but you won't see that you missed. But either way, based on what your DM is doing, if they show you that or not, that's up to them. I haven't set up the options for hiding that yet in this, so you can see it. But if I did hit, then I would drag this damage onto it. That did 10 points of damage, and again, you as a player would not see this line underneath, but that did enough damage that the Acolyte is now dying. So you are able to see the status: healthy, wounded, badly wounded, I think it actually says severe, so on and so forth in the combat tracker. But once your turn is done, you will click this turn complete button, and it will move to the next person in the list. This is only active for you when your turn is actually up, and I didn't set this tutorial here to turn, so I can't move on. Once you do hit that turn complete button, it means you're done. So, no, oh wait, I wanted to do a bonus action. No, you're done. Just throwing that out there, guys. So, moving on here. The different tabs here, you've got your main one with your abilities, your saves, your health, your wounds, how much damage you've taken, your max HP, temporary health if you have any, which Fantasy Grounds will automatically draw from this first. This number will decrease before you start accruing wounds, just as an FYI. These are your hit dice that you have available. If you are taking a short rest, then you can go ahead and, well, we'll use the D8 here. Click and drag that into the chat, and that will heal us for, well, we rolled a 7, so since we only had 5 wounds, we're now back to 0. 0 wounds, that is. So, next thing here to show as well, armor is automatically added to your AC and the effects of it as well. As you can see, you've got your dex as well as your con added onto your armor class. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Okay, so let's see if it cancels that out by adding a chain shirt. So right now it defaults to being carried, but if you click it and it becomes equipped, let's see if that changed. Alright, so it did update that you only get a maximum of 2 dexterity for your armor class, but you'll need to make sure that you come in here and adjust this. Basically, you just keep clicking it until it is a dash. like so. But that's only applicable if you, like with the unarmored defense as a barbarian, you no longer get that if you put armor on. So now coming back here to the adventuring gear, most classes give you a choice between an explorer's pack and something else, or 2 packs, but either way, it's an adventuring gear. This is everything that you could want. Of course, there is a search function, so explorer's pack. You can click on it to see what's inside of it, and then you click and drag, and as you can see, it automatically added everything. I myself as a DM, and most DMs do like this as well. This backpack obviously is not staying empty, but if you've got pouches, you've got a backpack, you've got any other storage things, you can give them a specific name, so like backpack 1. And then in this location box, you start typing and it'll give you the option to autocomplete. Hit tab and it will put the item underneath that where it's stored and indent it a little. So like the tinderbox here, backpack, and it's now up here. It's a good way to keep organized, and it makes sure that we know exactly what is where if, well, you get attacked while you're sleeping and leave your backpack behind. So back here, the main tab, as I explained, that's what everything has here. Your proficiency bonus is here. We never added a background, but we will come to that. If your DM gives you inspiration, you simply check that, and as you can see, there is a star up here on your portrait now. Now, something else to note. If you step away, right-click on your portrait up here, and toggle AFK. This will let your DM know, okay, this person is not here at this time. So you can go ahead and, again, toggle AFK once you come back. Please always do that if you step away. You have no idea how helpful. Well, you might, but it's very, very helpful to a DM. If for some reason you no longer are using this character for whatever reason, and your DM asks you to release it, or whatever the case may be, an example might be if you are playing for another player and playing another character for a player that's missing, and the player comes in late, you can right-click on that portrait of that character and then go to release. You do need to do that for them to do so. That will make this portrait disappear, and then the DM can allow the other player to have their character back, or whatever the case may be. So, skills tab. Very, very self-explanatory. Got all your skills here, the proficiencies on this side, your stat that it applies. If you ever have a miscellaneous modifier, it goes in this column. Those are your totals. You can roll with the total column. If you need a refresher of what a skill does, click the dragon head. Going down to the abilities. By the way, there are a few different themes to Fantasy Grounds. Sometimes this might be a dragon head, sometimes it might be a circular bullet kind of appearance, but it's in the same area. Abilities tab, you've got feats, features. Feats are, of course, the various feats that you can earn at higher levels. Features are anything from your class or your background. Traits are your racial modifiers. Proficiencies are self-explanatory. Your weapon, tool, armor, proficiencies, and then of course languages. Inventory tab, where everything's kept. For your money, I'm sure it's very important, you need to make sure, I don't know why Fantasy Grounds doesn't do this by default, but in the line, you'll type in capital CP for copper pieces, and then silver pieces, so on and so forth. And then in this box here is how many you have. So 12 copper pieces and 5 silver. Or 85 apparently. Those are very important for various reasons. The DM is able to see a total of how much of each currency that players have. So you need to make sure that it is that capital CP. Your encumbrance, what your maximum carry is, your lift, push, and drag, and then how much you're currently carrying. The Notes tab is where you put in, as it's very self-explanatory, gender, age, height, weight, size, alignment, deity. These are all parts of the background that you normally will fill in. I'll come back to those. Appearance is something that you can fill in to make it plain on what your character looks like. Notes or anything else you want to include. The Log tab, for most of the ZGF Gaming games, you will not need to worry about. This is meant for Adventurers League, for organized play. Obviously, if you still want to be allied with a faction, you can put it in here. DCI number, adventures that you have completed as this character, so on and so forth. The Actions tab is where you go for most of your combat stuff. It's got your the Great Axe for tutorial guy here, hand axes, you've got the throne. Normally it does automatically update your ammo, but we've got 2 hand axes, so you just type that in. And then, once you throw one, you just check it off. It does tend to automatically do that, if I remember correctly. Let's test it out here. Yes. So as soon as you roll an attack, it will automatically check one. Actually, it looks like as soon as you grab that die, so do be careful. So coming back here to your background, click the backgrounds, and we'll go ahead and make this guy an acolyte. Click, drag, drop. Boom, here it is. Any adjustments that it makes are automatically done. You can see them down here in the chat. As you can see here, language 2 of your choice means that you gotta come in here and do a little customization. So you'll just delete this and say we want Dwarvish, or Dwarven, whatever it's called, and Elven. So that's done there. Your inventory, it does not automatically add the inventory that you get from your background. Mostly because most of these things that you do get from your background are random stuff. So to add something that's not in the actual equipment area, you just click this, click the plus sign up here, and then add it. I also want to make sure that you do want to make sure that you name that pouch Money Pouch. There is a pouch you can drag from the equipment. It's the same thing, but you'll want to rename it to Money Pouch to show that this is where your money is kept. And then you can type in your location, left belt, showing that it's on your left belt. Or it's on the left side of your belt, that is. But yeah, you just type in the name of things. If you're not sure the weight, most of these you can either apply from something else, such as the prayer book or prayer wheel. I'd assume those would be very similar to each other, at least as far as weight goes. But let's see if there is anything. Nothing in there. Well, there is not. So in this case, there is a book. So you can add that book to your inventory. Probably, I'd personally say spell book, but as far as weight. But either way, you just click, drag. You got a book in here. Rename it to prayer book. If you need to change the weight that's shown for something, you click the box and type in the new button or new weight. So that's all that's needed for those. Now, one more thing I want to show you is how to add spells and use them. So you got classes here. We will actually, yeah, we'll stick with him. Or her, I guess, from the portrait there. But let's add we'll add a sorcerer. And we'll go with wild magic just for the sake of that. Now, easiest thing to do, in my opinion, come to the abilities, find that spell casting option, and then this explains what you have available. Quick thing for those that aren't familiar with D&D as a whole. Your spells you get so many spells. So like it says here, at first level you know 4 cantrips of your choice. So let's go ahead and click this dragon head. It'll bring up the sorcerer spell list. You can click on these to learn about them. And then, whatever you decide, you want to be on your Actions tab. And then Firebolt, click, drag, drop. We'll give you Light, Mage Hand, and we'll say Acid Splash. That's a good, yeah, that's good. So now for spells that you have, spells known in the case of you'll want to read through this really. Some classes have so many spells that can be prepared, others have so many things that can be added in. But either way, these are automatically applied for your sorcerer. Now if you have more than one class that casts spells, I recommend clicking this magnifying glass before you add this other class that casts spells. This one here. And then renaming this to sorcerer or whatever your current class is. Because you will have 2 separate sections for them. Now, it looks like you know... Okay, so as a first level sorcerer, you know 2 first level spells. So we will add... Magic Missile is always a good one. And we'll add Mage Armor. So you got Spells, Sorcerer, Cantrip, Spells, Sorcerer, level 1. This would be something that if you cast this... Okay, so yeah, sometimes the spell slots it doesn't show up automatically, so you just click that editing list and it'll pop up, and then you click it again to go back to normal. So anytime you cast something, you just mark that off. Sometimes it might do it automatically. I don't know. But either way, if you cast Mage Armor, obviously you're just clicking and dragging that and dropping it onto yourself. Preferably in the combat tracker. So now effects AC3. I don't know why Tato's saying hello, but now sometimes this is a little messed up, so you may have to manually modify things, because normally you don't have armor when you're casting that spell. So I'm not sure if it's counting the armor you already have, or if it replaced the armor with that 3. Most likely it replaced that armor with the 3. I don't know for sure, so keep an eye on it. So now, for attacking with a spell, say you want to cast Magic Missile on that Acolyte's dying body. You'll click this magnifying glass, or maybe. Oh wait, that's why. Apologies. You don't actually have to roll attack for Magic Missile, because it automatically hits, so let's use a different example. The Firebolt does have to be rolled for, so to cast it, sometimes your DM may prefer you... Oh, that works too. But either way, you can click and drag from this attack box, the range +2, onto Acolyte. Ooh, that was almost a 20. Tato, why does it matter? I've been using this the whole time. Well, I'll talk to him later. We're almost done, guys. So, Firebolt onto the Acolyte. Miss, obviously, but if it did hit, you would then grab the 1d10 fire. So with the spell, you've got the name, where it's from, you've got your attack, save if applicable, and then damage. So you'll drop that on there and does damage. Now for things like Acid Splash, where it has a save, you can click and drag this save thing, which isn't a die, as you can tell. Now that, you probably noticed that shadow die that rolled. That is a DM's dice being rolled. You can help out your DM by having it automatically be rolled. Ask your DM first, because some prefer to manually roll, some are okay with letting Fantasy Grounds do that automatically for them. So either way, you again as a player normally would not see this line, but this means that the Acolyte rolled an 11 for the against the DC, and it was a success because they dodged it. With Acid Splash, it does not automatically... It does nothing if you miss. But if the Acolyte failed, again, just roll. Now, if it's a spell that does half damage on a success, you can just roll in here, and then the DM will be able to apply half. If you have advantage, just click the ADV here, and roll your attack. So like the Great Axe, it'll roll 2. Oh, crit. Awesome. And there you go. It automatically applied the crit. Now what you see here, it shows that you have advantage, and it dropped to 2 because the other die was a 2. And that shows that it was a critical hit. Now, if you roll this onto the Acolyte, the same target, Fantasy Grounds will automatically double the dice for you. So you don't need to worry about that at all. As you... that was instant death damage. If you're playing a race like the Half-Orc that gets the Savage attacks, I honestly don't know if it will add that extra die. But if not, you can just roll it manually. Or I guess it would actually be this, but either way. Disadvantage, same thing, just click that button before you roll. These are different buttons that you can apply modifiers. If you need a different modifier, like say a 3, you just click that, plus 3, and then you roll your die. 6 plus 3 is 9. You can also do minus, well, I meant to type 12, but that works, or meant to type 2, I mean, but that works. And then, of course, boom. That would be bad. But anyways, if you have a healing spell, you just click the, well, let me show you. Cleric. Oh, wrong place. You do have all of these different things that you can explore later, but here's your spells. Cleric. And Cure Wounds. I added that as a sorcerer spell, but oh well. So then it will, you will go apply that. Oh, we'll heal the Acolyte. So it applied the healing to the creature that you rolled it on. Obviously, in 5th edition, there are no negatives, so it will apply per the rules as far as how much health you go back to. Other than that, I believe that's all to really go over. You do have a party sheet up here. There's not a whole lot that you guys can see, but you'll want to keep an eye on this order tab here. The DM, I believe, is the main one that needs to manage this. But otherwise, you guys can keep an eye here and make sure that the DM does update it properly. Inventory stuff, if there are any awards, the DM will normally drop them into the party sheet, and then you guys can decide who gets it, and the DM will assign them as appropriate, based on what you guys decide. And then the DM just has to click a button that's visible on their side, and it will automatically distribute all coins evenly amongst you guys, as well as it will give you guys any items that you decided based on what you decided goes where. It does have a calendar button. In general, I don't think you'll use this. Just saying. Again, this button is your color palette. This button has some uses to it that I don't actually know just yet. This one, if you're applying an effect to a creature and you don't have it easily available, you can probably find it here. Like if you need to apply Frighten to Acolyte. So the Acolyte is frightened by tutorial. These are your options that you can go through and see whatever you want. The DM will probably... Oh wait, actually you cannot adjust these. Okay, that's good to know. You get to adjust these things. The rest of these you can see what the DM has set for them. PCs, all of your characters. You got notes, because the DM can share notes with you individually or the entire party. Images and maps, anything that is made available to you is found in here. Story stuff, if the DM just shares any important details about the story or anything with you, again, it'll be in there. Well, somebody's messing around with their character sheet. NPCs, you won't use this a whole lot, but it does give you information about, like, the if you have a wolf companion, you can bring up the information about them. Items, pretty much everything that's available in the equipment you'll find here as well. Tokens, self-explanatory. These are various monsters, though apparently you only have access to and that. We'll assign that to tutorial. That. But anyways, thank you guys for joining me for this. That should be just about everything. If you do have any questions, please leave them in the comment, and I don't know what he's going on about. I will talk to you guys later.